Tonight, what AFL CEO Gillon McLachlan had to say about the future of football in Tasmania. Scouts Australia among more organisations opting in to the National Redress Scheme. Why gun control advocates are taking the state government to court. What caused a 10-storey building to go up in flames. Back from the dead, the journalist thought assassinated makes a shocking appearance. And several men arrested over a spate of burglaries in Launceston.
Live from our Tasmanian headquarters, this is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Southern Cross News. AFL boss Gillon McLachlan has made his highly anticipated visit to the northwest coast, but mystery still surrounds the future of football in Tasmania. Although the current state league is being considered as part of the plan, there are hints a standalone AFL team will not feature in the final model when it's revealed next month.
Nothing was off the table in Gillon McLachlan's talks with current and former state league clubs.
What's unequivocal is the Tasmanians want their own team. There's just no grey in that.
But football fans may need to wait longer than the steering committee's June 30 deadline to know if a truly Tasmanian AFL team is part of the package.
I don't think you'll have a definitive view of that at June 30. I think you have a really clear vision on so many things. I don't know that you'll get that.
What should be clearer by then is if the state league will survive and how to improve pathways for junior and senior talent.
There would be a level of momentum or sugar hit from bringing an AFL team in to help, but I think in the end, long term, you have to build the base first.
Whatever the best model is, McLachlan is willing to pay for it.
Money's not the core problem here. If it requires money, then I'm committed to find the money.
Although nothing has been set in stone, the meeting had one club president quietly confident in the state league's future.
What we got today was a very, very good hearing. It's how the TSL fits in with the rest of the pieces of the jigsaw in football in the state as well.
We're unlikely to see a team from the northwest coast return to the state league anytime soon, with the Burnie and Devonport football clubs expressing the barriers they face directly to the AFL boss.
I think the challenges of the northwest of the distance are really clear, and I prosecuted that with the two clubs today.
What are those barriers in regard to the travel and the players aspiring to play in a state league?
A morning of high-intensity talks leaving the boss with a clearer picture of the situation.
It's going through a series of challenges. Some of those are that we and Tasmania haven't performed at our best.
Before the Tasmanian public finds out the full picture in a month's time. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
It was another historic day for victims of child sexual abuse, with 4 more organisations opting in to the National Redress Scheme. While the news was welcomed by many, advocates are urging Tasmanians to remember the life-changing impacts of such horrific abuse.
Leaders gather in Canberra to mark another milestone for victims of child sexual abuse. The YMCA, Salvation Army, Anglican Church and Scouts today all opting into the National Redress Scheme.
We have coverage now of 80% of survivors who were impacted when they were children.
Scouts Australia has a zero tolerance of abuse of any kind.
The Catholic Church signing up yesterday, the Hobart Diocese still unsure of the scheme's cost, but saying it already had the funds in the budget.
We feel that this redress scheme could open up the possibility for some people to seek assistance who haven't felt comfortable or felt the best way to do it in the past.
The ongoing impacts of child abuse also in the spotlight. One barrister saying our prison is full of people who were themselves victims. Under the scheme, those sentenced to more than 5 years in prison must go through a special assessment to receive compensation.
I'm personally aware of some cases of people who have committed child sex offences, gone to jail for more than 5 years, but they themselves have had horrific upbringings.
The way that the bill is currently drafted is that it does put restrictions on people who have certain criminal convictions, which we just feel is really punishing them twice.
In another step forward, the state government today confirmed it will proclaim new laws to start on July 1, lifting time restrictions for victims to launch legal action.
We will do what we need to ensure that Tasmanians who are The victims of abuse are able to access a scheme that gives them the best possible support, but doesn't prevent them from taking other options legally.
Meanwhile, tensions remain high over the proposed sale of more than 100 Anglican properties to fund its contribution to the redress scheme. Residents today urging the church to reconsider its decision ahead of their synod in Launceston tomorrow.
They don't reject the goal, but they're feeling very left out of the process, and they're feeling pretty angry.
Eligible victims can receive up to $150,000, counselling and a formal apology under the scheme. Michelle Wisby, Southern Cross News.
Gun control advocates are taking the state government to court in relation to its proposed firearms policy. Authorities have refused a right to information request and are withholding 4 documents regarding whether the changes breach the National Firearms Act.
Tasmania's gun laws are in for a shake-up under a proposed policy. Changes the government says would help farmers and recreational shooters.
To use their firearms in a way that's contemporary under laws that are very strong and retain the integrity of the National Firearms Agreement.
The Premier now under pressure to reveal advice from his former police minister about whether the policy would comply with the national agreement.
We did not believe that it was in contravention of the NFA.
Was he wrong?
Well, we will ensure that any legislation that comes before the Parliament does not conflict or compromise the NFA.
The government knocked back a right to information request to uncover 4 documents relating to the issue. The reasons cited, they relate to internal deliberations, and the release would be contrary to the public interest.
This is absolutely in the public interest. There is significant interest in this and concern in the Tasmanian community. Why is the Premier hiding this document?
Gun Control Australia says it's challenging the decision and is taking the matter to court next month.
I am not fully aware of the nature of the proceedings that are being undertaken, but we'll respond to that in due course, appropriately so, when advice is received.
It's very important that this is being challenged and taken to the Supreme Court. The Greens and many people in the community have had problems with the secrecy of the Liberals.
The firearms policy will be scrutinised by an upper house inquiry. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
A 36-year-old Mayfield man has been charged with attempted armed robbery and 5 others arrested following an overnight police operation in the state's north. Fang, the drug detection dog, and helicopters were used as police cracked down on road safety and criminal activity. The Mayfield man was arrested on Launceston's Boland Street around 11 o'clock last night. It's alleged he committed a number of offences over the past 2 weeks, including business burglaries and an attempted armed robbery.
That armed robbery occurred in George Street, Launceston on Friday, the 25th of May, where a male was approached and threatened with a hammer.
The alleged offender appeared in court this morning and was refused bail. 4 other people were charged with motor vehicle offences and another with possessing stolen goods as a result of the overnight operation. 2 women bushwalking in Tasmania's remote southwest have been rescued by the Westpac rescue helicopter. The pair were walking the Port Davey track when one woman could no longer continue due to a medical condition. They set off an EPIRB just before 9 this morning and were flown back to Hobart. Hundreds of Tasmanians are dying every year from bowel cancer, with doctors pleading with those who are over 50 to do a simple test. Early detection can mean the difference between life and death, with one local mum today sharing her experience with the disease.
Dr. Lucy Alexander calls herself one of the lucky ones. At just 49 and experiencing chronic tiredness, it was discovered the wife and mum of 2 had a huge tumour growing in her bowel.
It had spread through the bowel wall but not to anywhere else in my body. So surgery was it for me.
Thankfully picked up before it was too late.
No risk factors at all. And that's another important thing, because I'm a doctor. People say to me, oh, I'd know if something was wrong in my body. And the answer is, you don't know. I'm a testament to that. I had no idea.
300 Tasmanians die every year from bowel cancer, the highest rate anywhere in Australia.
So up to 90% of people in the early stages are able to be fixed by being recognised, and basically by doing the bowel screen kit.
These prevention ambassadors today showing just how easy it is to use the kit sent to every Australian for their 50th birthday.
It's potentially the best present you will ever get.
Among them, Kath and Kim's Brett, adding a humorous look to what's often considered an awkward issue.
Okay, well there's a small stick, it is a tiny shovel.
We really want to encourage people when they get their poo test in the mail to do a poo, poke and post it back.
Worryingly, although they're free, 60% of Tasmanians still don't send them back for testing.
It's effective and it's really important to do so that we can basically save your life.
It's a really simple process. You do it, twice over 2 days and you're done. And you send it off and you can forget about it for another 2 years.
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
An 11-year-old Tasmanian boy is living his dream after being selected in the Australian cast of School of Rock, the musical. Bailey Landegg will move to Melbourne for 6 months later this year to make his professional musical theatre debut.
Bailey Landegg is now one of the coolest kids at school.
It's just crazy that I'm in this show.
For the past 3 years, the 11-year-old Launceston boy has been perfecting his drumming, singing and dancing. Getting his drum skills from his dad and his theatre love from his mum, the young performer's hard work is now paying off. Out of the hundreds of children that applied, Bailey is one of the lucky few selected in the School of Rock cast, the musical based on the Jack Black hit.
The movie has been a favourite for a long time in our house, so we've watched it a lot, and then, well, I just saw it on Facebook and the last day I was like, Mum, can I please do this?
And not only did Bailey get in the cast, he scored a leading role, Freddie the drummer.
Just see if you can do what I do, okay? Just give it a try. It's really good.
When we sent through his audition tape, we didn't know how many hundreds or thousands of kids would be sending them through.
Kristen and Bailey will move to Melbourne in September when 6 weeks of intense rehearsing begins. Dad Liam and sister Ari will be Bailey's biggest fans back home.
Everyone goes, oh, you must be so proud. I don't know, proud's just not a big enough word.
School of Rock opens at Her Majesty's Theatre in Melbourne on October 31. Monica Dadson at Southern Cross News.
Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has gained ground as energy stocks rallied on stronger oil prices and retailers gained on news Amazon will block Australian consumers from buying products from its overseas e-commerce sites. The ASX 200 index has risen by 27.2 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 75.7 US cents and 108.36 New Zealand cents. Sport is next with Mr. Tom Cooper. Good evening, Tom. Tasmania netball fans are in for a treat this weekend.
Mr. Tom Cooper, I like it, Joe. Good evening to you. The Collingwood Magpies take on the Firebirds at the Silverdome on Sunday. We'll have more on that after the break. Also coming up, we'll tell you who's in and who's out for this weekend's AFL clashes, and the Launceston Football Club set to pay tribute to the TSL's Indigenous talent. Back home, but still on footy, and Lauderdale coach Darren Winter has spoken publicly for the first time since copping a lengthy suspension, claiming he was unjustly treated by AFL Tasmania. Winter made a triumphant return to the coach's box last weekend and will be hoping to back it up against the Blues.
Making light of the situation at first.
Yeah, it's been a bundle of joy.
Before revealing what he really thought.
I think it was unsettling for everybody at the club. So it wasn't a good period of time.
Winter was banned from coaching for the first 6 matches this season for verbally abusing an umpire in last year's grand final loss to North Launceston, with the fiery figure still clearly harbouring resentment towards AFL Tasmania.
We've got a guy in the twos for North Hobart that got done for the same charge and got a reprimand. We've got Tom Hawkins gets a week for manhandling an umpire. We had a guy that got his eye socket broken from a king hit last year, shattered. He got 6 weeks.
Right back where he wanted to be last weekend, the Bombers coach spurred his side on to an unexpected 33-point win over Glenorchy, but is under no illusions about the task ahead after the Blues dished the D's up a 107-point reality check.
I wouldn't mind having a couple of the players that they've dropped over the last couple of weeks. We could probably do with a few of those blokes.
Now sitting just 1 win away from their crosstown rivals up top of the ladder, Launceston easily accounted for Lauderdale in round 3, but are expecting a different beast this time around.
Certainly dangerous. They've got some stability back in their footy club. Their senior coach has got them back up and going, so they're going to be a footy side that resembles what we've seen with Lauderdale from last year.
The club today unveiling its commemorative Guernsey for the clash in recognition of National Reconciliation Week.
It's more than just football, but sports is a good way to break down barriers. So from that aspect as well, it's pretty special.
The opening bounce is at 2 p.m. at Lauderdale Oval on Saturday. With the State Netball League at its halfway point for the season, Netball Tasmania says the competition is still a few years off from the level it needs to be, with stronger talent pathways a key focus for the organisation moving forward.
We'd like to see it a little bit stronger than it is and a little bit more evenly competitive than it is to better prepare our athletes for national standard competition.
Tasmanian netball fans will get a taste of that elite level this weekend when the Collingwood Magpies take on the Queensland Firebirds at the Launceston Silverdome on Sunday for round 6 of the Super Netball League. You guys are crazy, Joe. Very nice to watch from afar, though, from very long way away.
Very, very far away. Thanks very much for that, Tom. Pete Murphy will be joining us right after the break with a look at the day's weather.
Good evening. The good news is it's the last day of autumn. Bad news, winter starts tomorrow. Temperatures started to indicate that. Hobart 12 degrees today. Launceston and Burnie 13, Devonport and Low Head our top of 14 degrees. Below average temperatures for the last day of autumn, Strawn, St Helens, Smithton and the Islands all 13, Friendly Beaches and Ooze 12, Grove 11 and Lyawini starting to do what it does best, a top of just 4 today. Scattered low-level cumulus cloud over most of Tasmania, mountain wave patterns over the highlands, while on the big picture the dominant high has low cloud over the Bight, a cold front has the cloud building over southern Western Australia, most of the nation cloud free. Tomorrow the cold front stalls as it approaches the Bight. A low still sits over the Tasman Sea while the high continues its influence. Southerly winds to kick off the day at 10 to 20 knots, tending westerly over the south but mostly light and variable with a slight tendency to the northwest over western waters later. Swells to 3 metres. Hobart tomorrow, mostly sunny and 14 degrees, a top of 15 for Huonville after an early frost, mostly sunny for Campania and 15. Launceston, a morning frost, a sunny afternoon, 14 the top, 14 also for Devonport and Georgetown with fine sunny weather. Burnie sunny as well and 14, mostly sunny for Strawn, just a bit of cloud about, 14 the top and 14 for Wynyard. And for the east coast, St Helens partly cloudy and 15, 15 for Swansea, Port Arthur a top of 14 degrees. On Saturday, fine apart from possible showers over the east coast, fine and partly cloudy weather for most of us on Sunday and showers over the west on Monday, spreading to southern areas but fine elsewhere. Partly cloudy in Perth and Adelaide tomorrow, a sunny 15 in Melbourne, a windy showery day in Sydney, a top of just 17, but fine and sunny in Brisbane. It's partly cloudy right now in Hobart, 6 degrees, cooling down in Launceston as well, but clear and 7 in Devonport currently 6 degrees. Joe, I didn't think it was such a great idea now to have a haircut the day before winter.
You'll be a bit chilly around your ears, won't you? Thank you very much, Murph. That's all from the team for now. Have a lovely evening. See you a bit later. Bye-bye.